The UFC 186 fiasco still continues. Today, a court order stepping in saying that Quentin Rampage Jackson is back on the UFC 186 card after being pulled last week from fighting Fabio Maldonado in a catchweight bout fight. This fight really wasn't about Rampage Jackson becoming champion once again in UFC. This was about UFC sort of opening their eyes and bringing past stars back, because people are catching on that fans really don't care about who's in the ring fighting as long as there's ratings or records are involved. People just want to see people get in there, and people want to catch a good fight. They want to get their money's worth, and Rampage Jackson is a guy that's always stepped up to the plate and delivered. UFC sort of pushed Rampage Jackson out to the pasture, where he was picked up by Bellator, and during his Bellator tour, he was able to win 3 wins. I've read countless stories on this, basically saying that Quentin Rampage Jackson, even though it looks like he was overpaid for his last Bellator fight, feels that he was wronged in the way that his payout was done. Basically, he's asking for Bellator to give him a number of how many people ordered the pay-per-view to see his last fight. And even though they've overpaid his bonus money, they have, basically broken their contract by not giving him that number. For some reason, Bellator is trying to protect the number, and now Rampage Jackson, who was previously pulled from UFC 186, is now back on. Rampage Jackson has a record at 35-11 in UFC, is basically going back to fighting Maldonado, who was actually told he was still going to appear on UFC 186, but he was going to fight a former hockey player named Steve Bossy. Steve Bossy now is going to be off the show with no one else to really fill his place. I had thought that maybe MMA was getting too crazy for Quentin Rampage Jackson. Maybe he would go and try professional wrestling. Maybe he would go back and sign with WWE. I know that he really didn't like his time with TNA, but I thought that maybe, there was a big MMA feel around WrestleMania 31. WWE brought in a lot of MMA fighters and gave them free tickets that have their presence shown at the show. Obviously, Ronda Rousey getting into the ring with The Rock, building up big rumors about an upcoming match. Maybe Rock and Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Maybe Stephanie and Ronda Rousey appearing in their corners. My big thing is about Brock Lesnar. What is Brock Lesnar going to do once he comes back? Now he's coming back as a babyface. Obviously, he's going to get a rematch for his championship that he lost at WrestleMania 31 after being cashed in on against Roman Reigns by Seth Rollins. But bringing in somebody like Rampage Jackson, even though he does have really limited wrestling skills, they do have the Performance Center. They can teach him down there some basic moves to get through a match against Brock Lesnar. Brock, as a babyface, would at least have somebody to work against that you would be able to believe that there's some sort of disbelief that unless there's a screw job, there's a way that Brock Lesnar actually could lose this match. Now, obviously, he's getting back into MMA. This is a fight more than likely that Rampage is going to win against Maldonado. But we will have to see more continuous coverage of UFC 186 coming up this Saturday. Kind of funny to be plugged into a fight on a Tuesday night, told, hey, you're going to go out there and you're going to fight after all. But I'm sure Rampage felt that he was going to be able to win this court appeal and be able to put in there. Of course, the main event is going to be Demetrius Johnson going up against a guy's name who I don't even know how to say, who I better learn by Saturday. So he's back in the fight. UFC 186 Saturday night. See you guys then.